Hallo, guten Tag und herzlich willkommen auf meinem YouTube-Kanal. Wenn du neu auf meinem Kanal bist, möchte ich mich kurz vorstellen. Ich bin Aditi und ich bin Ärztin von Beruf. Heute habe ich eine sehr gute Nachricht, die ich gerne mit euch teilen möchte. Also, ich habe den ersten Teil des Approbationsverfahrens hier in Deutschland bestanden. Das heißt, ich habe die Fachsprachenprüfung bestanden. Und in diesem Video würde ich gerne eine Complete Guide geben, wie man als ausländische Ärztin oder ausländischer Arzt hier in Deutschland arbeiten kann. Also a complete guide to medical licensing pathway for international medical doctors here in Germany. Dann lasst uns anfangen. For the remaining portion of this video, I am switching to English because I want this video to reach a greater range of audience. Over the past 2 to 3 months, I have received a very common questions in my inbox asking if holding a GMC registration from UK helps in the German medical licensing pathway. Personally, it's a very interesting question for me as well because I also hold the GMC registration and the answer is not very straightforward. In some circumstances, yes, it can be helpful. In some circumstances, it cannot. If you are one of those, then I would recommend you to stay until the end of this video because in this video I'll be explained everything in details, and I want this video to be the only video that you need if you are thinking about starting your medical career here in Germany. Now let's understand the exact details of the medical licensing pathway here in Germany. Obviously, medicine is a regulated profession, which means that you would require a license to practice here in Germany. And this license is called Approbation. You will be hearing this term a lot during this journey. The process of application for Approbation is handled at a state level. Now, what do we mean by that? Germany is a federal country and it has 16 different states, and the application of your license is handled at the state level. For example, I live in Weiblingen and that comes under Baden-Württemberg. Obviously, after receiving the Approbation, you're allowed to practice as a doctor all over Germany, but the initial stages of your application is handled at a state level. So the first thing that you need to ask yourself is, in which state are you interested to start your application? Obviously, you would require the help of two important websites. First important medical authority is called the Landesamt or the Regierungspräsidium. Basically, this is the medical authority that is responsible for handling your application. It's basically the same like GMC in Germany. And the second important office or the authority is known as Ärztekammer or the medical chambers. This is the authority that is responsible for arranging your exams or answering to your exam related questions. My advice for you would be, first decide on which state you are interested to practice or start your application. And the second, obviously check these two relevant websites to find more up-to-date and accurate information. For example, as I said, I applied in Baden-Württemberg. So my information in this video is exactly up-to-date like for Baden-Württemberg. There can be certain variation from one state to another in terms of requirement, waiting time, and so it's obviously advisable to check the relevant websites for your specific state. Okay. Now let's assume that you already decided in which state you are interested to start your application. You would go into the specific websites, and all this information obviously are in German. If you are in the beginner level, you can translate in English, but the most important thing is to understand certain terminology. Approbation is the full or complete professional license. There is also another term which is called Berufserlaubnis, that is basically temporary or the provisional medical license. The ultimate aim or the goal is to achieve Approbation, but obviously it is time consuming. It can take 2 to 3 years, but in this process you can also achieve Berufserlaubnis and start working as a doctor in Germany. So let's understand what is the difference between these two. Approbation is, as I said, full professional medical license. Berufserlaubnis is temporary provisional medical license. Approbation has no validity. It is obviously lifelong valid. Berufserlaubnis has a validity of usually 2 years. Approbation is valid all over Germany. You can practice as a doctor all over Germany, but with the Berufserlaubnis, you are allowed to work in the specific state in which you applied. For example, if you applied in Baden-Württemberg, you are only allowed to work in Baden-Württemberg. Approbation has no limitation or restriction on you as a doctor. But with the Berufserlaubnis, you have some restriction, which means that you will be working under supervision, and in most cases, you're not allowed to do night shifts. With Approbation, your training period in Germany is counted, but as when you are working with the Berufserlaubnis, those number of months or the years are not counted as a training period. So basically, to start your training, you would need an Approbation in Germany. Now we understood the difference between Approbation and Berufserlaubnis, but how to get there? The first important test that you would be requiring to take is the Fachsprachenprüfung or the FSP. This is basically a language-based test that tests your German communication level in your day-to-day life with your patients. This test needs to be taken by anyone and everyone who have completed their medicine studies outside Germany. So even if you completed your medicine studies in Ukraine, Russia, Poland, and obviously from other parts of the world, you need to take this test. I would make a detailed video sharing my experience about how I passed the test, what kind of resources I use, the structure of the exam in another video. Okay, now let's move forward. Assume that you pass the Fachsprachenprüfung or the FSP. Now you're eligible to apply for Berufserlaubnis, and it comes with the pros and cons, which I already discussed earlier. After passing the Fachsprachenprüfung or FSP, now you have two different pathways to achieve your Approbation. The first one is to take another test which is called the Kenntnisseprüfung or the KP. This is basically a knowledge-based test. Now this test assess your medical knowledge. After passing the KP, you will be receiving an Approbation. Another way to achieve your medical license is known Equivalence Certification or the Gleichwertigkeit. This is basically proving to the council that your medicine study was equal standard to that of Germany, and obviously it comes with more documentation, more paperwork and more time. Now here comes the most important question that I received from you guys, that does having a GMC registration help in this pathway? It can be yes or no, because for example, I will just share my personal experience. Since I also have a GMC registration, so a lot of my seniors also suggested it's better if I apply for the equivalence certification, but then I realized that it requires more documentation, specifically for my medical university, from Bangladesh Medical Council, and a lot more paperwork. You will be basically hiring a lawyer to present your case on your behalf. It is more expensive and also more time consuming. So the most important factor for me was time, obviously. So I decided it's more faster if I just take the knowledge-based test, the KP exam, and then apply for Approbation. I did that, and also from a personal standpoint, I think it's a very good way to take the exam and also update your medical knowledge, because a lot of protocols and things are very different here in Germany. So it's basically better if you take the exam. You will also be in an up-to-date edge when you start your training period here in Germany. A bit more information about the FSP and the KP exam. FSP can be taken as many number of times as required. So basically there are no limitation on the number of attempts for the exam, and obviously you have to pay for every attempt. It costs around 400 to 500 euros, and the preparation time can vary from 3 to 4 months. So now come to KP. Now KP has a limitation of only 3 attempts, which means that you have to pass this exam within 3 attempts. Again, for every attempt you have to pay a fee. The fee can cost from 1000 to 1500 euros, and the preparation time is a bit longer if you study intensive for 5 to 6 months. I know a lot of people that suggest taking 1 year to 1.5 years. Now let's say unfortunately for some reasons you were not able to pass the exam, you can apply for Gleichwertigkeit, the equivalence certification. But if they find that your MBBS was not that of equivalent to that German level, that you will not be able to practice as a doctor in Germany. So it's very important that you take each and every attempt very seriously. Now let's assume after passing the FSP, you decided to apply for equivalence certification or the Gleichwertigkeit. Definitely, as I said, you would need to provide a lot more information to prove to the council that your medicine study was that of German standard. Just to provide an example, what kind of documentation you need? You would need to provide a complete list of your MBBS curriculum. For example, in our MBBS, we have like first year, second year, third year, fourth year, or first prof, second, third, and fourth prof. And you need to provide a complete MBBS curriculum explaining, for example, for anatomy, what was the syllabus and how many number of hours you spent studying those. You can find this curriculum from your medical university website or from your National Medical Council website. You need to download the curriculum, you need to get it verified and have an official signature from the responsible authority. In most of these states here in Germany can also ask for a German translated copy of this MBBS curriculum. You will be assigned to a lawyer who will be responsible for presenting your case to the council on your behalf, and you're expected to bear the complete cost of the entire process, which comes to around 2,000 to 3,000 euros. Now, even after spending so much time, which can take around 15 months to complete the process, they can at the end say that, okay, we have evaluated your entire application and we found that your medicine study was not equivalent to that of German standard, and we recommend you to take the Kenntnisseprüfung or the KP exam. And that means now you have to also now prepare for the KP exam, pay for the KP exam, and that is also time consuming. Because of these complexities and the duration of the time it takes to receive a response for the entire application process, I took the decision that it is way faster if I just take directly the Kenntnisseprüfung. So I guess that's it for the first part of this video. In this video, I tried to discuss the basic terminology and also give you an understanding of the overall German healthcare system. In my next video, I will talk about how and where to apply for FSP, the complete list of documents that are required to submit with your application, regarding translations, attestations, and what kind of visa you can apply for to come to Germany to take the test. Also, if you want me to cover any specific queries, please feel free to write in the comment section below. I will also cover those in my second part of the video. Second part of the video will be released exactly 1 week after this video goes online. I guess that's it for the first part, and then see you in the next part then. Ciao!